Alright guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the Emerald Webs, all of their best combos and how you can use those to build a full loadout. These are some of my favourite gloves, so I am ready to cook with them. Okay, the market's been a little bit messy recently and I kind of have to get that out of the way to begin with. I am going with minimal wear as my preference on the gloves because they come out looking fantastic. You can see here the torture is all clean, there's no marks. You get some very small marks on the gloves, but these just wear horribly, much like Amphibious, for example. Minimal wear would currently cost you $4,600. These gloves were involved with the crazy market manipulation over the last couple of weeks, so some of the different marketplaces are a little bit iffy on prices for these, so I kind of have to put that asterisk there, and all the prices are accurate as of the 12th of May. And to very quickly cover it, my ideal knife with these gloves is going to be, of course, an emerald. You've got Emerald Web, you have to go emerald. I'm pricing the Huntsman here, which comes in just under $1,500 in Factory New. However, obviously you could go for any emerald you wanted to within your budget. I did also want to mention that you could go field tester on the gloves. They'll cost you about $2,565 upwards depending on patterns and whatnot. This was a pair that was actually listed on a marketplace you're able to buy for this exact price. You can see you get a little bit of a scuff on the E. Again, the fabric gets more scuffs, but overall, to see if almost half the cost, maybe you just want to go field test and deal with that little bit of wear. For the sake of this video though, I am going with minimal wear, and I'm again sticking with the emerald as the main knife, and we have Lieutenant Rex Crikey as the CT agent because honestly we don't want to have any clashes, and this is how you look, sleeveless, which is what we want. As usual, I will showcase two alternative knives for you guys. So the first one is going to be a butterfly, and I'm going to suggest the Phase 4. Might be a bit of surprise not to be saying Phase 2, but the reason for that is because these knives, or these gamma dopplers, and the butterfly is just one of them. Another one would be the likes of the Bowie knife because it gets a massive accent color which pairs in with the gloves, but the Phase 4 green on the handle, for example, is the closest you'll get to that sort of color on the sort of finger of the gloves, or the thumb of the gloves I should say. And then I think the pattern wise, obviously you can hunt for max line patterns, which would work really well, but they're crazy pricing. You're talking over $4,400. If you wanted that more reasonable budget and you didn't like how the emerald for whatever reason looked with them, I think black laminates are a good shout, especially M9s. Something about the specialist gloves plus M9s just look so mean. I had this exact knife with my foundation specialist gloves. This is just over $1,000 in the minimal wear, and I think because you've got this green already, this really bright color, and honestly, if you look at all the gamma doppler phases, even the emerald, not all of them pair with the emerald colors on the gloves, which is, I mean, I think a little bit of a mistake from Valve's perspective, but I think this is a combo also just looks mean. The gloves get to do a lot of the shouting, a lot of the brightness, but you've got a mean knife. I didn't expect to waffle so much about the knives, but here we are. We are good to go for the weapon skins. My go-to on the USP would 100% be the Monster Mashup because the greens align really nicely. Because of the nature of the green that you get on the Emerald Web gloves, you do kind of want like these really bright, aggressive colors, sort of neon vibes, and Monster Mashup for $36 minimal wear, it does exactly that. I will have a few alternatives for a couple of weapons. Road Rash is one you can consider using. I'd get it in Souvenir because that's a bit cheaper at $29, and I think with Souvenir stickers on it, it can look kind of mean. But I think it's clear to say that the Monster Mashup is better. Sticking very much on the theme of the Monster Mashup, the See You Later P250 is great here. It's just over $5 minimal wear, and it's the same sort of thing with those bright greens, and it does have a little bit of a blue base, which plays in nicely. The Desert Eagle only has one option. Of course, it's going to be the Emerald Yermungandr, which is crazy that it's almost $500 now. I made small profit when I sold mine, but if I held it, goddamn, we would be cooking. $490 for Factory New. It's of course pattern based, and it does wear a little bit rough. This is a 0.03 float, and you'll see like tiny little scuffs appearing here and there, but fantastic Desert Eagle skin. Because budget isn't really an object here, we're going to go for Cobra Strike's Jewel Berettas. These are $42 in minimal wear. Surprisingly, like the Emerald Jewelies are just a completely different color compared to the Emerald gloves, and the top of these jewelies actually work really well with that bright green. I feel like if I suggested the Hyper Beast again, my bias would just be coming through too heavily. So I went for the Hot Shot, which is like $5.65 minimum wear and holds up pretty clean, and again has that sort of neon green. Just for the context of how Hyper Beast would look, I personally quite like it with the Emerald Webs. It's this part of like the green loadouts that always looks so good. Like the Hydra MP9 is absolutely perfect with these gloves. The greens are so similar. Plus you got a lot of the blacks, which I'm pairing with the sort of blacky grey on the palm of the gloves. Really nice option. You do just kind of have to vibe out on the MP7 side of things with the Empire. It's $3.40. Maybe you don't want to spend that much on an MP7. but I actually think it's a pretty cool skin, just has to deal with a little bit of wear. It's also not every video you'll get 2 UMP suggestions. The first one is going to be the plastic. It's $1.09, minimal wear. It's an alright looking skin. I did price for the more expensive UMP, but my preference would actually be the new Late Night Transit, because as we've seen with the M9 Black Laminate, the black skins look really good with these gloves, and you do get a little bit of green along with other bright colours on there. And this next one will involve a little bit of pattern hunting, but honestly, it's not too bad. I find them with ease across multiple marketplaces. The XOXO, but you want a green and pink pattern, because that green again, very close to what you get in the gloves, and pink is pretty much a complementary color at this point for like just that neon vibe. And I honestly just went cheap and cheerful for the Mag 7, the BI83 Spectrum for like $1.48 minimal wear. It just sort of ticks a box for us. It'll do the job. We're not going to use it that much because I refuse to pay the prices for those Terrace Mag 7s. Alright, the CT side, meat and potatoes. What are we going for? No, we're not going for the Moss Quartz. I appreciate that it exists, but we're going for the print stream. Because I think that white and black, and we've already seen black looks good with the gloves, I think going for this is the best play. It is $380 in minimal wear, and I believe you should be crafting on this. And to give an example, if you spend $65, you could add a 4X Flipside Atlanta papers onto it, taking the cost of $445. I think doing something like this and getting like a unique craft is a better play than the Moss Quartz, but obviously that is heavily budget dependent. But again, rather than paying $65 to $70 for a Moss Quartz, I would rather get a minimal wear Hyper Beast for $47, because those bright greens with those bright blues, pinks, and even green on it, it like doesn't work perfectly, but it also doesn't clash because of the bright colors. So if you want a cheaper option, I think you go for the Hyper Beast. And I apologize if you thought you got a WhatsApp message. It was indeed me. M4A4 is going to be the in-living color. I mentioned at the start those neon colors, even when there's not a lot of green, are really good. This is a great example of this. There's a little bits of green through here, but it's just so bright with the neon vibes that you can get away with it with the gloves. And I can't lie, if you're an AWPer, you are feasting with your option here, because you can go for a containment breach. Now, if I just stop and you look at that, that pairing in itself is one of the best glove to AWP pairings you will get in the entire game. Yes, the gloves can be pricey, between $2,500 to $4,600, but the AWP's only $140. So, like, just the AWP pricing to pair in is fantastic. Following up with how much I like the in-living color, I decided to go for the Bad Trip Famous. It's like $5.50. This won't be for everyone because it is so incredibly, like, in-your-face bright. An alternative for, like, half the cost would be the ZX Spectrum in minimal wear. And on the AUG side of things, I think going for a Souvenir Carved Jade Infantry New is the best play you're going to have. It is outdated, I'm going to say, because just there's much better AUG skins being added, but for the green pairing, this is kind of what you're forced into. However, if you don't use an AUG, then easy peasy. Now, I am actually suggesting both agents I own, which I promise I didn't do on purpose. The next one is going to be Sir Bloody Silent Darrell, and just so you can see what he looks like, it is this lovely guy here, and he'll cost you $31. And the main reason I'm going for this is because, although I loved running gold and green, I think overall silver with these Emerald Web gloves looks better. And the Glock might surprise people. My actual suggestion is going to be a Nuclear Garden in Factory New, because I believe the greens just look better. Like when you inspect this, those greens align very nicely for $4. If you wanted to spend almost $600, you could go for an Emerald Glock. But here's sort of, I said this with the knife, and you'll see it with the knife here. It doesn't really pair exactly with any of the emerald colors on the gloves, which is a little bit annoying. And then you get that with the Glock as well. It depends how much the exact colors bug you. In game, you probably don't notice, but when you sit in a server and you think about it, it's a big difference, and that's why I think Nuclear Garden Glock is so much better value for money. The Tech 9, at least you can go like cheap and cheerful. Bamboozle for 75 cents in minimal wear. It just like ticks that box really nicely for us. Now, I am just trying to hone in my point at this element, but this is also an Emerald Quartz, and while the pattern on the ZZ kind of pairs in with the web pattern on the gloves, this is another Emerald skin that's a completely different color of Emerald. Valve, please get it together, which means my actual suggestion here is going to be the Eco, because it's like $1.45 minimal wear. The green's not too far off. At least it's just sort of bright and vibrant, as I've been saying. And then as we get to the Mac 10, going to be the same vibe as the Glock. It's going to be the Nuclear Garden. Like this time, you don't want to go factory new. You can go minimal wear, because it is going to cost you still $8.30, so just save a couple of dollars there where you can. But again, the greens pair really nicely. Now, I don't know how often you're buying a PP Bison or a P90, but here for the Bison, Fuel Rod is probably going to be the best bet for $1.20. And then I like the Grim because it's one of the few like proper green P90s we have, and it's only 16 cents, so really nice and budget. On the Gale, you guys are going to need to let me know down below which one you'd want to go for, because I think there's two great options that are both really like budget friendly. The first is being the Envy. Now, this is in minimal wear going to cost you 17 cents. If you want to go factory new, it's not much more, but it is such a nice budget skin to have, because again, these greens are pairing fairly similar to what you get on the gloves, and then it's just this nice black and grey base. If you prefer a bit more like green, like really heavy green, I think that's where you want to go for the green apple for 12 cents in minimal wear. So you could honestly just buy both for very cheap and rotate them if you want to. And outside of our knife and glove, which are quite expensive at like over $6,000 as a combination, our next big purchase is going to be the AK Hydroponic. This in minimal wear is starting from $2,300 and upwards. Supply is quite low on them, which is what's driving the price to go up, and it means it's a little bit iffy depending on the marketplace. But I think with the Emerald Webs, you don't want to go Fire Serpent. If you want to go like S tier green skin, and Wild Lotus is just ridiculously priced, so I think the Hydroponic is the best bet here on that like S tier skin style. And then if we want to come back down to earth with something more reasonable, the Headshot is a really good shout. This is $13.50 for minimal wear. Now, one note, when you inspect it, yes, you get very little green on it. When you use it in idle, which is what you're mostly going to be using it and spraying with and stuff, you get a significant amount of green to the extent that it looks really nice with the gloves. So, take your pick. I did mention if you're not using the AUG and you're using the Scout on CT side, you'd be loving it because it is going to be the acid fade. It's $1.50 factory new. This does vary based on field percentages, but I actually don't think you want to go like 100% field percentage, because the end color would start to go like that sort of like ambery color that it goes. You want to have a bit of black in the middle, because I think that actually pairs with the tam off the glove. And we end it off with the Dragon Tech. It's the only real SG option. The two colors of greens don't really align, but it's under $1, so it does the job for us. Now, if you're going for the loadout with the Huntsman Emerald, which was my overall suggestion because you want to get an emerald knife, and it is actually in the middle tier of the budgets we have, the total loadout cost is $9,580. Just shy of a $10,000 budget. As mentioned, you can save yourself about $2,000 or so by going for field tested gloves. So you could cut it down, but that's up to you. And then if you didn't want emerald, but you wanted like an S tier knife, like an M9, a Karambit, a Butterfly, for example, in this case, I want Butterfly Phase 4, your total loadout cost would become $12,535. So we're cracking 12k at that point. And then that really alternate option, which was the black laminate, this would come in as the cheapest at $9,140. So you guys can let me know in the comments down below which knife you'd go for, or would you go for a different phase, for example, on the Butterfly. Let me know in the comments down below. It'd be good to have that conversation. Before I go, I want to say a big thank you to YouTube members for supporting the channel. That is greatly appreciated. And I hope you guys have been enjoying this series. We're going to start taking off some more S tier gloves as we go through the next few weeks, so hopefully you will enjoy that. Hit the like button if you enjoy it. Hit the subscribe button if you're around here. I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Good. Bye.